Welcome, everyone, to the March 9th, 2020. It's 4 o'clock in the board meeting for the Carson City Culture and Tourism Authority. We're in the Sierra Room at the Carson Community Center. Can I get a roll call, Linda?
Trish Turnowith.
Here.
Mike Riggs.
Here.
Mike Jones.
Here.
Stacy Giomi. Here. Mike Santos is absent. We have a quorum.
Can I ask everyone to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you. This time I'll ask for any public comment. Please come forward, Sharon.
Hi, thank you. Sharon Ross, Capital City Arts Initiative, and I just want to introduce the new exhibition here in the Sierra Room. It will be here through June. Ink, Paper, Print. It's a printmaking exhibition, and we have 11 artists, and Carol Brown, who lives in Carson City, guest curated for us. She's a printmaker, and she worked very hard. She worked over months to make sure we had different samples of different kinds of printmaking, and some as well as quality work. So we have faculty from several area universities and a couple of students, and we're very proud of the show. So I hope you enjoy it and take a look around. Galen Brown right there is a Carson City resident. Carol Brown has work in here too, but all of them are from this region. There's a reception for the artists on Friday, April 3rd, and you're all invited. I know you will have seen the show, but you'll get to meet some of the artists there. I passed out the essay for Impact, the courthouse exhibition. It was written by Chris Lanier, who's faculty up at Sierra Nevada University. And we think Chris has written for us before. But this essay, it was particularly outstanding. In the brick, we have the last month of photographers photo finished. 2020, it's Carson High advanced photography students, and that'll come down the end of the month. And then we'll have a group high school show from Carson, Dayton, Douglas, and Pioneer High Schools. And the reception for that will be April 1st. So if you want to come meet some high school artists, their receptions are always sort of fun. So ink, paper, print, enjoy. Any questions?
I've been particularly impressed with the photos of those high school students. I could barely find my pencils and paper from high school. That's very impressive. So
Well, thank
you for curating that. And
Thank you. Kara Farron, who's the photo teacher at Carson High, to be in her advanced photography, you have to take it all 4 years.
Yeah,
And
wow.
her assignment was they had to pick a theme, pick an idea, and do a series of 15 on their idea. But we only had room for like 3 or 4 of each of their pieces. But they did a beautiful job, I agree. So, thank you.
Thanks, Sharon. Move on to item 5, possible action, approval of minutes of the February 10th, 2020 CTA board meeting. Going through the minutes, does any of the board members have any comments or changes they'd like to see? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve the minutes as presented.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Item 6, adoption of the agenda. Again, I don't see any reason to move the agenda around. I propose we attack it as printed. All right. We're now going to take up the consent agenda. Any members of the board that want anything pulled for individual discussion? For items 7 and 8? Hearing none. Any member of the public want anything pulled for individual discussion? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as published.
I move to approve the consent agenda consisting of items 7 and 8.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. On to items, I guess now we're on to 9 for presentation only. Pickleball presentation by Dave Whitefield. Dave, welcome back. You were here last month, I think, too.
Thank you, Chairman Jones. Thank you, board members, staff. Happy to be here. I guess I heard 4:30. Dave only gave me 10 minutes, but I could stretch it. Just kidding. I hope I'm kidding. So I've got a lot of things to talk about, but the basic idea of this presentation is kind of introduce you to the sport, what it has done for other communities in the country, and some of the possibilities that I see that we could have here in Carson City and what it could do for this area. So that's kind of the thrust of what I want to present. There'll be some facts and figures and things like that, and some pictures that you may or may not have seen, but and then some local information about what's going on locally for pickleball. So I'll get right to it. We call this the fun sport with the funny name, and we can talk about the name, but legend has it that the people that invented this sport up in Washington had a dog named Pickles, and they named the sport after the dog. Don't know if that's true or not, but that's the way we tell the story. So I want to start off with a picture here. Let's play pickleball. One of the neat things about this sport is it can be enjoyed by all ages. We have kids as young as 7 or 8, and guys as old as in their 90s playing this sport. And it's a great activity. It just is a lot of fun for everybody. It's a good family activity, and I think it could add a lot to the community here if we've kind of got the ball rolling, so to speak, but we have a lot of opportunity to advance the ball down the field, and that's what we hope to do. So start off with some fun facts, figures. Invented on Bainbridge Island in '65, it was a couple of families got together and said, what can we do with our kids in the summertime to keep them entertained here? And they had some space in their backyards, not a lot of space, but enough. And they essentially turned the space of what would have been a badminton court into this pickleball thing. So they made some wooden paddles and got some wiffle balls and put up a net and invented the rules, and the rest is kind of history. It didn't catch on right away. It didn't escape the island, I think, for another 10 years or so. But it's become one of the fastest growing sports. We'd like to say it's the fastest growing. I don't know if that's really true. So I'll just stick with one of the fastest growing sports in the country. 10% growth in the last 3 years. These are pretty conservative numbers. Over 3 million players in the country right now. That's a lot of people playing pickleball. And you can see the demographic it skews somewhat to the elderly, and there's a reason for that. It's a little easier on the body than tennis. I'm a former tennis player. We get guys that play tennis, racquetball, ping pong. That's kind of the 3 major areas that people come to the sport. And it's a smaller court, easier to cover. Once you learn the strategy, you still have to move, but you don't have to move as much as on a tennis court. So a little easier on the old bodies. Youth participation is growing. We've entertained some ideas of starting some youth programs here with the schools, and we really haven't got that going yet. So that's an item that we're going to be working on in the near future. We do have some kids that are showing up at the MAC that are interested. Some of them are playing basketball, and sometimes they'll leak over into where we're playing pickleball, and we always welcome them and say, hey, pick up a paddle and we'll show you what's going on here. And most of them like it immediately. If they're out there playing basketball, they're kind of athletic anyway, and they really go for this very quickly. So I'm going to go next to what I call the 5 Ps of pickleball. People with purpose and passion for pickleball equals profit for the community. We have a lot of our players are volunteering to do things. I'll talk about some of those things that we're trying to do here in the community. But there is there are a large number of people in this area that are involved in the sport and really want to see it advance. Our purpose is primarily to bring pickleball to the community, and we're talking specifically Carson, but the greater Northern Nevada area is really our focus. And I'd like to see Carson beat Reno to become the pickleball center of Northern Nevada. So that's kind of my personal goal. I try not to say too much about that when I'm with the Reno and Sparks people because I don't want to get them too riled up, and right now they're helping us out. So I downplay that a little bit then. The people that are involved love the sport. It's an addictive sport. We had David and Mike Santos and a couple of the Parks people, Jim Budge and David Navarro, a few weeks back, invited them to the MAC and gave them an introductory kind of lesson or two. And I think they had a good time. Would you attest?
It was awesome. I couldn't serve, but I had a fun time.
Well,
It was
he bailed
amazing.
early. He would have been able to serve.
I
if he
know,
hadn't
I
bailed
know.
early.
Duty called, yes.
So anyway, we have a lot of passionate people about this. And when you combine that passion with our purpose and our love of the game of pickleball, there is profit in it for the community. And I want to talk a little bit about profit. I don't mean just economic profit when I'm talking about profit. There are a number of health and social benefits to this sport that can bring to the community. And I want to talk about that some too. Before I get to that, though, I do want to talk about the economic impact because we have some examples from around the country that are pretty amazing, that the impact that this sport has had on communities. I'm going to start with Naples, Florida, and this is a long way from us, but it's a smaller community in Florida, not the biggest place. It has become the epicenter of pickleball on the East Coast. And they've done this, they've transformed it, they've built courts. There's over 60 courts that they've built in this area. And the US Open is played there. It's grown every year that they've had it there. They've added facilities, they've added players every year. And it's brought, you guys can all read the slide, it's brought a lot of money into that community. And it's right, I think it's right up the alley of what CCCTA does. Their Convention Visitor Bureau's budget, they estimate that pickleball is producing about 5% of their annual budget, and it's a pretty good sized budget. I can't remember the number off the top of my head, but it's quite a bit of money. And the director has some nice quotes about it, and the one that really stuck out to me was pickleball is a people magnet. It's changed our city, and they've really had a big impact. They have in addition to these tournaments that they've established a pickleball academy there with some of the top pro players running the academy. And on a given day, they say they have between 300 and 400 players at this academy, and they come from all over the country. There's a lot of enthusiasm for this sport, so there's big opportunities there. A little closer to home, St. George, Utah. Some facts about the Huntsman Games. Now, they have a lot of athletes, and about 10% of them are pickleball players. But the Huntsman in 2019 brought in over $16 million into that community. I think it's a 10-day or 2-week event. So it's had a major economic impact on St. George. And I think St. George is a community of about 80,000 people. So that's a pretty big deal there. I think it would be optimistic and maybe foolish to think that we could do that here in the short term, but I think longer term, I think that there is tremendous opportunity to grow this sport here if we have the proper facilities for it. So with that, I want to turn to some of the other benefits, health and social. And some of these are pretty obvious. I mean, it's aerobic physical activity when the game is played for fun. Strengthens muscles, cardiovascular health impacts. I definitely improves my mood, and I think that's the way most people see it. when you first start, you just kind of try to get the ball over the net. And as you learn a little bit, you start to see some of the strategy. And then it becomes a thinking game. And so that enhances the brain activity. It's encouraged me to lose some weight, which I needed to do, and it's helped me do that. I definitely have better agility and balance since I've lost some weight, so it's there. And it's just a good family activity. And we have made, my wife Juana and I have probably made 300 new friends over the past 3 years just through this sport. So it's been had a great social impact on our lives. And it's just a heck of a lot of fun. So some of the communities are doing school and after-school programs. We haven't got to that point yet, but we hope to, especially if we can get some outdoor facilities. And that's one of the things we're focusing on. I mentioned that it can be enjoyed by all ages. This kind of gives you an idea of the scale of the court. I think that's a good picture from behind the players where you can see the court itself is 44 feet long and 20 feet wide. And 4 of these courts will fit in a full-size tennis court. So if you have a 60 by 120-foot tennis court, you can put 4 of these courts. So you really leverage the space. It's just a neat deal. Another neat thing about the sport, I mentioned this before, we have some old people playing it. I'm one of them, but we have even people older than me, if you can believe that. And you can keep playing for a long time. I had hoped to play tennis until I died, and I had to quit about 10 years ago. So this has been a real neat thing for me because I get to continue hitting the ball with a paddle and having that kind of fun, even though I can't cover the tennis court anymore. I want to present some information about what we're doing locally. In the greater Northern Nevada area, we probably have 600 plus players. About half of those are members of our Truckee Meadows Pickleball Club. When I first got involved in this about 3.5 years ago, we thought about maybe forming our own club down here in Carson, and had some discussions with the board members of the Truckee Meadows Club. And I said, I don't know that it's wise to divide the community, the pickleball community, and duplicate the overhead of another club. If you guys would be willing to work with us down here and help us reach our goals here, we'll work with you up in Reno area. And they said, that makes a lot of sense. So that's the way we're running things now. So we have members from the lake, we have members from Reno Sparks, Fallon, Dayton, Mendon, Gardnerville, a lot of members from Carson. So really the club represents the whole area up here. And they've helped us with fundraising. They've been encouraging in getting us, going on the court projects. And it's just been a really good collaboration. So we're thankful for our members that don't live right here in Carson that are still helping us out. We are doing, Jen Budge has decided that we can have 3 of the courts at Mills Park to convert into pickleball. Now, the two courts that are closest to the swim center are a little narrow. They're only 102 feet wide combined. So we're only going to be able to get 3 courts across that space. So we'll have 3 courts across on each side of the existing tennis nets. So that'll give us 6 courts in that space. And then we think the other tennis courts that are asphalt base are wide enough. I'm pretty sure we can get 4 courts in the one that they've allocated for us there. We don't have enough money to do that right now. We've raised over $12,000 just through fundraisers. We've had 3 fundraisers, and our last one just ended. We raised $6,400 in that one, and that put us over the 12 grand mark. We're still working on budgets. Most of the work is going to be done by volunteers, but we still have to buy materials and equipment to do the conversion. These will be public courts. There's going to be, it's just like the tennis facility. There won't be a charge to the public, so they'll be free of charge. Something we've done just in the last few days, we met with Dan Castens from Parks over there to just scope things out. And Juana arranged to have a representative from Briggs Electric come down, and they've scoped out the lighting situation, and they're ginning up an estimate for us on what it might take to convert that lighting to LED and light at least the first 2 courts next to the swim center. And we've kind of hit them up for a donation. We don't know yet what they're going to say about that, but we said, this is a community effort. It's driven by the people that are participating in the sport, and it's good for the city of Carson, and would be nice if you guys had a way to show some community spirit here and pitch in and help us out. So I'll have to update you later on where that goes, but we're hopeful right now. So the idea of this conversion is to get 6 to 10 courts as quickly as we can that are dedicated outdoor facility and demonstrate the need and the demand for this sport here. I'm very confident that as soon as we get these, in fact, I'm getting pinged daily by the players, when are these things going to be ready? So there's a big push to have this outdoor facility. We have a beautiful facility at the MAC. We have 12 courts available for tournaments there, which is great. But people really love to play this sport outdoors. So that's been our recent focus. So the idea with these courts is to bridge for 3 to 5 years until we can get, I hope we get in the master plan revision, a plan for a complex that would maybe be between 16 and 24 courts that would allow us to hold regional and maybe even national tournaments here. And that's where the real economic potential of this could pay off. And if we combine that with the indoor courts, that gives us a large number of courts, and we could hold some really big tournaments and have some real impact on bringing tourism in here, because the players travel. I'll give you an example. Juan and I are scheduled to go to an event in Boise, Idaho in April called Pickle Jam. And it's not a tournament, it's a jamboree. So there's 250 players from all over the country going to show up there for 3 days of pickleball. It's 14 hours, 12 hours, and 10 hours on 3 consecutive days that we have available to play. And it's just fun. Everybody's just going to show up and play for fun. Well, that's a lot of rooms. 250 people came in. Everybody's got either a VRBO or Airbnb or we're in a hotel. So, and that's just one event. They hold that annually. They also have regular tournaments there. So a lot of things like that going on. Okay, I want to show you a picture here of the court itself. I mentioned it's 20 feet wide, 44 feet long. There's a line that's called the kitchen line, 7 feet either side of the net. And that area inside is called the kitchen. And that's technical term is non-volley zone. So what it means is you can't hit the ball out of the air if you're in that space. So unlike tennis, where you can go right up to the net and slam the ball, it would be too much of a competitive advantage to do that in this game. So they have that line there, and you can't cross that line if you're going to hit the ball in the air. You can go in if it bounces in there. You can go in, but you got to get right back out because people will hit it at you. So that's the basic dimensions of the court. I want to show you a rendering here. This is one example of a rendering of a pickleball complex, and you can see the outline courts, and then they've got a stadium court. So that's some artist's conception of what a complex might look like. And then the next picture I have is an actual complex. And that's a pretty neat deal. I'm not sure where this picture is from. It looks a lot like Indian Wells. We went to the Indian Wells Nationals, USAPA Nationals in November, and they had converted tennis courts there. They have 30 total tennis courts, and they had 45, I believe it was, pickleball courts that they had converted at that facility. There were 2,500 players playing over 10 days in that national tournament. It was really quite an event to see. I want to mention we've recently had an opportunity to give some publicity to our MAC. Ronnie Hanneman with the Chamber does a little piece for the Good Day Carson show that's streaming now. You guys know about that? Everybody knows about that? And she came and did a little interview, a little 4-minute segment, and that's up on the web now. So we got some publicity for the MAC and for the sport to promote that. And the same day, it just happened, Channel 2 has this Aging and Awesome show. Everybody familiar with that? Anybody familiar with it? Channel 2 on 7 p.m. on Saturdays. And it's a lot about senior health, basically, and what seniors are doing. And they came for they were actually there about 4 hours shooting video and doing some interviews. And that segment aired just this past Saturday on the 7th. And that's also available on the web. It's only the pickleball part's only about 5 minutes, but it was they took some really nice video of the facility. So we got some, and they even did a drone shot from the outside showing the MAC, and then an upside, a close-up of the signage. So I think it was good for the city. They talked about how it was in Carson. When they first called, they said, we want to do this in Reno. And I said, why would you want to do it in Reno? We've got the best facility here. So they came down and filmed it, and we kept the crew afterwards for about an hour. They went through the same drill you guys did, and they really had a good time. So it was a good opportunity to promote the sport again. So I want to leave you with remembering the 5 Ps. We have a bunch of people, and we have a purpose. Bring pickleball to the community. We're doing it with a lot of passion, and we think it will result in profits in the community and in social, health, and economic areas. So with that, I just want to thank you for the opportunity to present, and I hope that you'll kind of keep this on your radar. And I suspect that sooner or later, we'll probably be coming back to you and asking for some money. I'm not going to ask for any today, but we will have needs, and we're hoping that we can get your support. So thank you very much.
Thanks, David.
Dave, I have a question, if that's all right.
Sure.
Where do you vision this facility within Carson?
Well, for several reasons, I'm hoping that we can facilitate this in Mills Park. One reason is just, a couple of reasons are logistics. One is the central location. Second is it's relatively protected from the wind. And wind is an issue. I mean, we have wind here, and wind is an issue in the game, especially when it's played outdoors. So we feel like that would be a pretty well-protected space that we could actually have good competition there. And I think that park is 40-some acres. And the facility that I'm envisioning is probably 2.5 acres. So the question is, do we have the space? And I don't think Jen's staff has started yet on the master plan, but she has told me that when they do, I can at least sit in on some of the meetings and have some input. So I hope to find out in the near future what the possibility might be for placing that. I know she has some ideas about things she wants to do, and they may, one of her ideas may actually take the space that's currently occupied by the tennis courts, which if we convert, then, our short-term thing is we can get a few years out of it. But if that space gets used for another purpose, then we're gonna be looking for another space in the park. There was some discussion about trying to do something at Centennial. My main objection to that is the wind. That's much more exposed out there, and for tennis, it's not quite as big a deal. Pickleball, I think, would be very difficult to have an outdoor facility there. And we've been working with the tennis group, but they're fairly jealous of their property, and understandably, they need a place to play too. One of the differences that I should mention, tennis is a very competitive sport, takes a long time to learn to get really good at. Pickleball, you can play within the first half hour. I think Dave would attest to that. It may take longer to get really good at it, but people can learn it very quickly and just have a lot of fun with it right away. The other aspect that's different, The tennis community, because it's so competitive, tends to be not quite as social as the pickleball community. It really requires, we can have tennis courts, and we do have tennis courts all over town, right? And people go and enjoy the courts and play on them. Pickleball, you really almost need a crowd to really have the most fun and enjoyment out of the game. Because if you ever come to the MAC and see what we do there, we have paddle racks. And everybody comes and puts their paddle in the rack, and the courts will be full, and you'll have maybe 10 or 15, 20 people waiting with paddles in the rack. And you just go in order. When a court opens up, you go in. In the meantime, everybody's just visiting and having a good time, and it's pretty collegial on the court. Tournaments, a little different deal. They're more competitive, but the recreation play is very social, and it really almost demands a central location with a number of courts, not just scattered around like we do tennis courts. So hope that answers your question.
Any other questions from the board? Well, thanks, Dave. If you can teach David, I guess you're right. Anybody can play.
Just another half hour, I'll have that served out.
He's just about there.
Yeah.
He's just about there. I want to show you, I meant to hold this up. We are having a tournament at the MAC on May 2nd and 3rd. This is also run by volunteers, and this is a fundraiser for our court project as well. We're funneling the money, by the way, through the Foundation for Carson City Parks and Rec. So FCCPR has taken the money, and then they're holding it for us, and we're about to spend some pretty soon, and then they'll pay the city back. So, thank you so much.
Thanks for your time. Thanks for coming. All right. Move on to item 10 for discussion only. Presentation, Dave, Executive Director report.
Yep, so I'll be brief. I've just got 3 things to touch on during today's meeting. Just a quick update on the Kit Carson Trail markers. We'll find out late next week if we receive the grant through the Commission on Tourism. I'm continuing to work with Public Works and the Carson City Historical Society, as well as the Silver State Industries folks. So they're working on the comp up, and we'll get that at the May or the June meeting is my plan. On Thursday, I'm going to go over and make just a brief couple minutes of remarks at the Carson City, the Historic Resources Commission as well. So they understand where we're at with the project too, because I'll have to come back at some point during the summer and present the marker so they can take a look at that officially as well. So team and I are working on first cycle fiscal 21 grants with the Commission on Tourism. Those are the marketing grants. Those are due April 17th. So we're assessing grants we received, some new grant requests that we might be putting in as well from the team's perspective. So those are coming up on us very quickly. And then I just want to remind everybody, Randy Cohen from Americans for the Arts is coming in next week, Tuesday, Wednesday, several presentations. Chamber of Commerce 9 to 10, and then we have the special meeting for the hotels from 3 to 4:30. That's in the Sierra Room. And then Mark has his Carson City Cultural Commission meeting 5:30 to 7 that night as well. And then 9 to 10 o'clock on Wednesday the 18th is the last presentation that Randy will be doing. So that is my brief update to all of you. So any questions? Happy to answer those at this time.
Any other? Okay. Transit occupancy report.
All right, so in your packets, you have the December 2019 report, halfway through fiscal 20. Looking at December, we were down a little bit, 2.8% for the month. For the calendar year, we were actually up just under 5%. You'll see that just below in that second little table. Fiscal year to date, we're down just over 1%, 1.24%. On the average daily rate, just a reminder again to the board that when we have properties moving between the top 5 and then 6 to 13, it sort of skews those numbers. So just a reminder for what it's worth on that section. And I really wasn't going to add much else in on the report for the month itself, other than that. So we're going to keep an eye on how the lodging tax revenues come in, given everything that's happening out there in the economy. And we'll be making any necessary budget adjustments accordingly based on the revenue as we see it coming in through June. So any questions, I'm happy to answer those at this time.
Yeah, I think it's important we keep an eye on that ADR. That's concerning.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I mean, I think, well, you guys know better than the rest of us that, that there's probably gonna be a dip
Yeah.
in room occupancy. I don't think there's any doubt about it. I mean, people are already suspending travel, so I think it's critical that
Having
we
groups
keep an eye on it
canceled.
and,
No, I think the next month will be critical to kind of see how things shake out. Anything else on the occupancy report, David?
No, sir.
James, got an events and sales update for us?
Yes. Just to do a recap, in February, I had the opportunity to represent the RTT, Reno Tahoe Territory, in Chicago and Milwaukee. And we had the opportunity to meet with tour operators and specifically Apple Vacations. If you're not familiar with Apple Vacations, they're a major international tour operator seller. And they opened up domestically last year, and they have a strong relationship with Las Vegas. And so this was an opportunity for us to represent Northern Nevada to talk to Apple Vacations. We actually went to their call center and met with the staff there as they were on their lunch breaks. And so it was interesting, some of the things conversing with them, because Lake Tahoe in their minds is very similar to like Fiji trip. It's very foreign. They don't know a whole lot of information about it. And so to have that conversation with them, partnering with Reno, Virginia City, Las Vegas was there as well, and Lake Tahoe was there as well. It was a kind of an eye-opener. We like to think that we are the center of the universe and everyone knows where we are. But a lot of those salespeople had no idea that Lake Tahoe was that close to Carson City. Many didn't know that we were the state capital. A lot of them obviously didn't know about the history of the region, and so it was a huge education for them. The follow-up with that was when I returned back, we sent them personal information relating to Carson City and the specific itineraries that they could do and build around for potentially 2021. And also RTT also sent them, or will be sending them, a follow-up as well, kind of highlighting the region as well. So both of those we did in Chicago, and then in Milwaukee, we met with the tour operators that represent Milwaukee. It was actually my first time in Milwaukee too, so I had real cheese for the first time. It was actually pretty good. The Cap Calloway Orchestra event went really well. They had over 400 tickets that were sold for that. Gina Hill is working on sending out the third email for the participants to fill out the surveys for us. Because she was the one that collected all the data, we felt it was better that she be the one to send it out versus her giving us all the details of, and then we send it out to them. So hopefully we get some more information about that event, and I'll be able to report more on that at the following meeting. Upcoming event, what was supposed to happen, Go West Summit, which is a motor coach event, international event, was actually moved from March 21st to August 31st to September. That happened Monday last week. We got the email of that move. Obviously, the health and coronavirus is a big impact of that, which is why they have moved that to the fall. What's tough about that is we did a lot of the legwork already for it. So we had over 60 potential buyers that we're going to have to redo again because the whole process starts over again. So at least we got our feet wet a little bit and know exactly what we're dealing with, because this is another new event that we've never attended before. But that's the big change for that one there. In April, though, I will be going to Canada to do some sales missions there. This is a Travel Nevada partnership that we're working with, and I'll be there to represent the Reno Tahoe territory. But it'll be almost like a similar deal to the Chicago Milwaukee, to where I will be able to collect the list of all the tour operators and be able to give them information about Carson City, and help them with their itineraries and plans. I did ask Jennifer if there was a possibility of this event being canceled as well due to, the health scare that's going on right now, and she said that 100% is going to go. The way that things are being framed for the Canada is instead of flights, road trips is what they're preferring to do, and a lot of people are excited about doing road trips versus flying to other international hotspots. So that kind of works in our favor. Hopefully, I'll be able to report more on that event in potentially May or June. This Sierra Nevada Robot Showcase, we did last year. We had one team that came from out of state. It was from Salt Lake City, and I was actually in California this past weekend to help promote this event. And we have 2 commitments from California teams, 2 commitments from an Idaho team. They've already registered, so we know that they've already paid their fee and they're anticipated to attend the event. And also that one team from Salt Lake City will also be in attendance. So what we're seeing here is this was a local event that we encouraged to start up, because we felt that we have some strong international world teams that compete. If you're not familiar with First Nevada Robotics, they compete regionally for the potential to participate in Worlds, which takes place in Houston. So it's kind of a big deal. I went to Las Vegas last year to kind of see what this was all about, which is what prompted me to encourage the local teams to put this event together. So to go from one team last year from out of town to 5 is actually a pretty decent upgrade for us, and we're hoping that continues on. This event takes place at the Carson High School, and the hopes is that it outgrows that facility to where we can move it to the MAC. So
James, so what's the, how many players are in a team?
typically around 6 or 7, typically it's around that range. All youth, and they are given an assignment, and they have to do the coding for these robots. They put together the robots. They work together as a team, and then they compete against other robotics teams. And then from there, they go back and they have a nice culture to where if one team is struggling while they're in the back rooms, other teams are willing to come and help and support them. It's not, a cutthroat type of competition. So they promote the networking, but at the same time improving within your own team structures. So it's things are trending. I made the comment to David and Lydia yesterday. Most likely the event that I attended last week, most likely some kid from there is going to be, some tech genius that's going to come up with some sort of future technology that's going to impact the world. So it's a good event to volunteer and be a part of. And then April 4th, we have the CY SSA shoot that's taking place. This is part of the 3rd series trap shoot that we conducted surveys on last year. We're anticipating over 130 shooters from California for this event. We help sponsor by covering the food for the shooters. That's our role that we play in this one, since it's at a facility that's government-owned but privately run. And then in April, we have the Rural Roundup, which is the premier conference for Travel Nevada. So we'll be there the 8th through the 10th, partially on the 10th because we have so many deadlines for other things happening, grants and such. So that's going to round up the beginning of our or April. All right, any questions?
Any questions for James? No? Thanks, James. Good report. Lydia, marketing?
Right. So I've had a lot of projects lately. So we have kind of an abbreviated version of what's been happening in marketing and PR, and we'll start with our PR report for February. We had a lot of press that went on in February. One thing that is not listed here that we just found out about is myself, Spearhead, along with Travel Nevada's prompt, spearheaded an application with the help of Nancy Paulson and Ronnie at the Chamber too. We applied to become one of the dream towns for Sunset Magazine. And we actually won in one of the categories. So they actually break it out by category, and we won under the support for entrepreneurialism in the arts. And so we'll be featured in the magazine. It'll be pretty widely spread online, and that'll come out in the April-May issue, the March-April issue. So it should be hitting racks already, which is exciting. So as soon as we have that, we'll be able to share that too. But a lot of these are about the Mint, just some family blogs that happened. One is that Happy Half Hour, that video that we saw with Justin. That's up to 8,400 views, and that was of last week. So we're really still excited about that. And then as far as our Cision tracking, we had in February, almost 114,000 reach, with unique visitors per month of 116.2 million and a publicity value of 55,000. And this year to date, we've received a 3.6 million reach and a UVPM of 530,000 and a publicity value of 450,000. We did not host any FAMs in February, but we actually have a travel writer in town today. Her name's Elizabeth Zach, and she writes for Sacramento Magazine. So she'll be here today and tomorrow. So we're excited to have her and see what comes of that too. And as promised, we have our media kit completed. I can't thank Jess enough for her work on that. She has been a machine lately with all the rebranding that we've been doing. She's been an incredible asset to the team in such a short period of time. So thank you for all your help and what you've done for that. We have a new visitor guide, the small rack size brochure that she's totally redesigned for us, and some of our maps. So we've got a lot coming on in addition to this media kit that's been added to the new .biz site as well. But right now, we'll come back to this because I'll show you the visitor guide and this and what it looks like on the website. But we do have a downloadable version so that our media partners can come in and just pull that right off the website, along with all of our logos and fact sheets. But we also have this as a flippable view. So it looks like an actual magazine. It's much easier to view if they just need to pull some facts and don't need to download and print it out. And I have a social update for you because we'll do a big one up in our May meeting. But we haven't talked about digital and what we've been doing since we launched the new website. So I wanted to focus more on this for this presentation. But digital means a lot of things. So we want to focus on what we're actually doing in the digital space so that we can get visitors to find our new website and be able to actively and efficiently be able to find what they're looking for. So we're working on Google Ads, and we're doing paid search campaigns. So that allows us to deliver relevant information to our potential visitors that are actually searching for Carson City. So we're looking for people who are looking for Carson City. We're not searching for people that aren't in a market, if that makes sense. So that drives them to specific pages of our website based on their interests. So it's the most efficient process that we can. And so we're currently running a United States campaign that's very general, just for people searching for Carson City. But we're also doing more targeted campaigns that include people looking for hiking, that are looking for hotels specifically. All of our major categories that are very individualized, and we're focusing on our most popular markets that we've discovered over the last year, which is California, Utah, Arizona, Texas, Washington, Oregon, Nevada, Colorado, and Idaho. Any questions on that? So believe it or not, we're actually using artificial intelligence every day in our digital. So that thanks to Google, they make it very easy to do that. But Google machine learning uses artificial intelligence to create dynamic search ads. So instead of us typing in every keyword that we want our visitor to find on our website, they actually scan our pages and they crawl them for the best keywords that people are actually searching for. And then they deliver that content based on some of the ads that we built to those people directly. So we don't have to go in and do every single keyword. It's basically learning our customers for us, which is something that's really exciting. And so everything is dynamically generated. We kind of build, when you go into Google and you see that ad that's at the top when you're searching for something in Carson City, right? And it tells you what that description is. We create that, but it delivers that to the most efficiently to the people who are looking for it the most. And so another aspect of this in Google Ads is we're using display ads to remarket to those people. So in the past, and a lot of people actually just do display ads to people who are in the market, and they're just basically like an online billboard, right? But instead of doing that and getting kind of a lot of wasted eyeballs, only those display ads are being targeted to people who are searching for Carson City and that have visited our website or searched for us previously that we've had a point of contact before. So some really cool stuff that's going on with Google AI, and we have tons of stats, and it's always a learning experience. They're always adding something new. Over the last year, I think they've changed and added, more things than I can count. So we're constantly staying on top of that, and now getting some real information from the website and what people are looking for, which informs us in how we're going to be marketing everything in the future. So the 2020 visitor guide is now live on the website. They have that flippable version. We're using a company and a web page called FlipSnack that gives it that really cool flippable view that you see there that you can scroll through. But the cool thing about that is that it's actually going to give us heat mapping data. So we're going to be able to tell what pages people are looking for the most, where they're spending their eye, where the eyes are going, and what content's going to be most relative, which will inform the information for our next visitor guide. So we can make that as relevant as possible to what people are looking for.
Do they send you, is there an analytics?
There is,
do you
yeah.
get it
I
up?
haven't seen it yet because we just launched it. So I need to dive deeper into how we're going to get that data delivered. But I'll definitely be able to update that over the next month.
Will you just touch on, though, the integration with the website with Google Analytics, why we went in this direction? Just
Oh, sure,
dig
yeah.
in,
So this
please.
is actually embedded on the website, and we'll go to that now. Give me just a second. So when people click on this visitor guide here up in the right-hand corner, it'll bring them to this landing page where you can see that flippable view. It goes to the full screen mode, which makes it really seamless to read. And we've got the incredible photography that we've been collecting over this last year. So the Google Analytics will actually track this. So it'll be able to tell us how many people are viewing this. And then FlipSnack will be able to tell us the content that they're looking at within it. So Google Analytics is actually incorporated in this too. So we can tell how many people are clicking to download the guide, how many people are requesting the rack size version of the visitor guide. And that's what we're mailing to them for the time being. And so all of this is tracked, and what we call that is a conversion. So when we're doing all this targeting for search and we're getting them to this page eventually, when they actually convert, and we can tell them that they're an interested customer because they're really looking for information to drive to their visit.
So I have a question. So how easy would this be for me to say I landed on it and I loved it and I wanted to share it and I wanted to send that to somebody else in my sphere? How easy is that to do to drive more people to looking at it?
So when you click download the visitor guide, you can actually download it directly from here, or there's a share button right here to share it with your friends on Facebook.
Very good. Okay.
So very easy. Yeah, that's the nice thing about FlipSnack and why we chose to go with them, because they made that pretty seamless. So while we're here, I'll show you the media partners page, because we also have the media kit on there. So when you land here, we have our promo videos that we did last year that you guys all saw with our new updated branding at the end. And then they can scroll down and have all the media resources that we feel are relevant. They can check our events calendar, the fact sheets, and then they can click to download the media kit or press topics to talk about. They can get our brand guidelines and logos. And then I've also made some galleries of some of our popular photos that they can take for their articles, so that we're controlling some of the photos that are going out instead of them Googling it or stealing it from Shutterstock or something like that. We get to control that information, and then they can actually flip through it just like they could on FlipSnack. So, yeah.
How is the event calendar populated?
we manually enter that. And so we love it when people submit their events so that we aren't scouring every website across the city trying to make it most relevant. So if you have an event.
For instance, my tournament, I want to get that on there.
Mm-hmm.
What do I do?
So you can go to our site, you go to events. This will show you what's going on. If you scroll down and submit your event, it'll bring you to where you can enter all your information. That goes right to me, and then we upload it as soon as we can.
Can I submit like a flyer or something?
Yeah, we highly recommend that. If not, what we'll do is we'll reach out to you. We don't have an upload for photos yet, but if you put in the description that you have a flyer, then I'll just respond to you and you can email it right back to me. Yeah, so it's a direct line to myself or Jess.
Can I mention something about that?
Sure.
At our board retreat on the 27th of February, one of the items that has been a big deal for the city is to have a coordinated event calendar. And so I mentioned the CTA calendar, and there was quite a bit of discussion about this because it is something that I think we've been lacking as a community. We're a pretty small community. We're a combined government. There really should be no reason why we can't get a good handle on this. So I'm really challenging you as staff to do whatever you can to reach far and wide and be proactive in populating that calendar. And I get you have to relate or wait on other people, but I think to really seed it up front, it's going to take a lot of fertilization from your minds and your efforts. I just would encourage you to do that because I think there's huge value in having that events calendar. And I think it can be one of the things that drives a lot of traffic to our website so that they can then explore further. So I think it's a real benefit to the CTA, but it is a priority for the Board of Supervisors to have some sort of coordinated events calendar. And it would be really good to bring that up at your discussion, Dave, and as to how much effort, the CTA is going to put into doing that.
Just to focus off what Stacy said, I understand, I saw that in the Carson Now, but what type of, is it major events? Is it like?
We specifically said, that was in fact, that exact question was the question that was brought up by someone in the audience and said, someone says, do you want Optimists or Optimist events? Do you want major events? Do you want Cab Calloway? And the answer is yes.
So
because you really, obviously we're not going to put Dave's, block party on there, right? We're not going to do that.
So you get into, with a CVB versus a chamber of how deep you go, meaning I don't care when Karen has all of her yoga with bunnies classes, that's a local
I don't think we're
piece
talking about that. I mean, I
versus-
think we're talking about an event.
Okay.
So I don't think the thought was that we're talking about recurring events. I mean, I don't think we're talking about, the events that are already on like the city's recreation department calendar, for instance.
Right.
Or the events that may already be on your calendar for a 21 tournament that either of you guys may be having. But if you're sponsoring Cab Calloway, yes. If you're, the Downtown Business Association is having a street fair on Curry Street next June, yes. So I think, there might be some ferreting out by staff in terms of what we're going to put on there and what we're not going to put on there. But I think we've lacked something like this for so long that I would really rather see us err on the side of putting too much and then come back and say, okay, now that we know the kinds of stuff we're going to get, let's put together a little policy that says, these are the things we'll accept and these are the things that we're not going to accept.
Can I just throw something out there too? I've been talking to Ronnie, Hanneman at the chamber about this very issue, sort of delineating what is like a locals only, like you're talking about this Optimist or something along those lines versus a tourism event, whether it's regional or national event. I know that Bev on her team spends an enormous amount of time putting together their calendar. So they may pick up 9 quote locals events on a day when maybe we have 1. So we're trying to figure out a way on the events page. I was going to have Lydia go to the events page. We have something where we differentiate to what Trish, what you were saying for the major events, and then we have the community events. maybe actually tying directly into the chamber's calendar, only because of the amount of time that Bev is putting into putting all of those events onto their calendar. Otherwise, we'd be duplicating our efforts. So we're trying to figure out a way, is there a way we can click off, take you right into the calendar with the chamber? Because again, if they've got 9 different, quote, local community events to the one that we have because that particular group reached out to us, you're missing a lot on our side.
I think I'd like to see what events they have on there. I don't know what kind of events they have on their calendar. I don't need to see it now. I mean, I mean, if we're talking about like, they have, I know they do their chamber mixers. I mean, those are chamber-only events. I don't think we'd put those on our calendars. But I think the events that are open to the public, I mean, I wouldn't have an issue with her Soups on Lunch that she does at Gold Dust being on that calendar. I wouldn't have an issue with Fish's, celebrity waiter thing, which is at the Nugget this year and last, being on that. I think that's a community event. So, I wouldn't, again, I think I'd rather see it overpopulated rather than underpopulated.
I think to start, that's probably better.
Yeah.
Like you said.
And I think for me, it just becomes a load management, right, for Jess and Lydia.
Well, maybe there's a way to let her access that part. I don't know enough about the backside of this to know if there's a way to allow her to put those events right on our page so that she doesn't have to send it to us and have us upload it. I don't know if that's possible.
And
that kind of relinquishes some control.
Well, I mean, it does some, but you're talking about one person who we already have a fairly decent relationship with. And obviously, we would always have the ability to cancel things out if she put something on there that we didn't like,
Yeah, there's a process that we go through before it gets posted, right? Somebody can't post.
I do them all manually. So no one posts an event. They submit that event and the information, and I upload that information. Which realistically, I think Bev would do it maybe once, and then she'd be like, I'm not going to duplicate what I'm doing, because it does take a while to get all the photos, and there's quite a few things that go into uploading the event. I mean, it's not a terrible amount
well,
of time.
maybe the
but-
link is the way to go then and just be done with it. So.
just initially to get things off the ground, I'd like to, that's kind of directionally where we're going, because it's so time consuming to put all these different, components of the event together. But if you look, Stacy, look at the chamber thing, and then we can follow up and just kind of see how their calendar looks, and you'll see it's just stacked 1, 2, 3, 8,
I
10,
would
12,
say
17
The
events
rule
on
of
some
thumb
days.
that I've been following is, would this be something a visitor could attend? And that's my first and foremost question. If it's not, then I put it on the community calendar event, or if it's kind of a gray area, right? So maybe they're in town and they have kids and they're going to go to the library event, right? Those are kind of those gray areas that, but we've definitely been erring more on the side of putting on more than less. But I agree, it's definitely a tough position.
Well,
for
and
the
you have
events
both. I
calendar,
mean,
but-
you have an event calendar and you have a community calendar. So it doesn't, not everything has to go on the event calendar.
Right.
It can certainly go on the community calendar, but I think might be interesting to have a way if someone wants to combine both calendars, you can click something and maybe it combines the calendars. I don't know if that's even possible.
I'm sure it could be in
But,
in the long
because
run,
that way,
yeah.
if someone, is, whether they're a visitor or a local, if they want to see, hey, I've got my grandkids coming into town, at the end of June, what's going on the 25th of June? They can just click both and it can bring up both calendars. And they can see, oh, good, I can take them to the library to do a book reading thing, and then we can go out to V&T for an event.
Right.
Yeah, comment on implementation, this is kind of in the weeds, but I'm just hearing the discussion made me think of maybe just applying filters to the calendar like Google does.
We do
So
have that.
You already do that?
Yeah, we have our categories, so people can choose which ones that they
Yeah,
want.
so you got arts or sports or whatever. You already got it? Okay, there you go. Yep, that's it. That was my idea.
Yeah, and they could search for keywords too. So Yeah, and right now we're definitely in that new phase. So we're going out and searching for all the events and going through all the Facebook pages and going through all the community calendars that we can find. So I think down the road, once we get more people submitting events and this does become
I guess the biggest
the
message I
standard.
wanted to pass along is that it is a priority for the Board of Supervisors to have that for a lot of reasons, for the benefit of our
agree.
business community, for the benefit of our tourist community, our hotel community, and just our citizens in general. So,
Yeah, and we definitely want to be that. I agree. Any other questions on the events? Right, so we saw our media our media kit. You actually have that in your packets, but this basically is reiterating our brand pillars to our media partners so they understand the feel of Carson City without always having to be here first. So this is more of an appeal to bring them here. We talk about the proximity. We talk about our proximity to our major cities, as well as our airports. We talk about the history, our pillars for room to wonder, cultural heritage, family friendly. We list our top attractions so they have an idea of what they can do when they get here. Our major articles that really highlight Carson City that other writers have written about, and then where to contact us at. And then this is a live PDF so they can actually click off and go to that media page too. So if we send this out as an attachment or a filler in one of the newsletters, then they can still get directed back to the website. And that actually brings me back to our CRM and our newsletter. So we finally have all of our templates built out. So this is quite a kind of a spider web of networking, which is really exciting. So when someone goes to that newsletter page and they sign up to receive our newsletters, it automatically triggers them to be sent an email that says, welcome to Carson City. Thank you for signing up for our newsletters. And then a week later, it will follow up with them. And then anything else from there, they're now in that list and they receive our monthly updates as well. Tomorrow, we have our new website launch going out to those 14 or 16,000 people that we have on that list. So we'll be kind of going from there. And then by the end of March, we'll have full updates of what's going on in April and May and really leading into the summer and getting on that monthly cadence from there now that we have all the coding and stuff figured out there. And as far as marketing, that's all we have going on. Are there any questions that I can answer for you guys?
I want to go back to the business partner page. It seems like that's catching, I check it frequently, and more businesses seems to be gaining traction. Are you getting a lot of requests?
We are. Jess, can you speak to that at all? I know you've had a couple people reach out already, even from the retail side too, which is exciting.
Yeah. I think it's starting to gain traction. I think people are realizing the benefit of having more control over the page, and that way everything is just updated constantly. We do have to figure out how to get retail access though. So that is our one barrier right now, but yeah.
Yeah, and we spoke with KPS3 about that today. It seems very doable, which is exciting. So it's just giving them authorship of their page instead of them having to come through because, they have changing deals and offers as well. And hopefully those deals and packages are something that's in the very near future that we'll be able to update and incorporate into the events pages so that, people are going to events and they're going to the reason why they're coming to Carson City first, which most of the time is our events page. And so the packages and deals will be able to be incorporated into that in addition to the lodging partners page. So we're really trying to make it a very holistic experience so that they'll be able to find those deals and we'll have a deals page that will, I think, be drawing a lot of traffic.
Mike, can I just add a couple of quick things to your question? So the next phase of the .biz site, we're going to take sort of an assessment of the convention meeting space, small business meeting room space, hotels, the golf courses, right? We need to flush that out, build that out as well. We've had some questions come up. We've met with a couple different entities who are saying, hey, we may be a golf course, but did you know we have this meeting space and we're looking to do other kinds of alternative events at those facilities? So that's kind of a phase 2 on the .biz website. And then I also mentioned too that we will have stakeholder engagement emails as well to go out to promote the site. We're going to work with Ronnie at the chamber as well because she has those contacts on the retail side with some of the other restaurants that we just don't have specific emails, right? To have these folks go out, check out your page, see what's up there, images, content, and then hopefully with the trainings that Jess will do, become more involved and actually take ownership of their particular page, for their property. So those things are going to be unfolding here, let's say over the next few weeks, but that's kind of the phase 2, I guess, on the .biz side of things, so.
Any other questions for marketing? All right, we'll move on to future agenda items. Anything the board would like to see? Future agenda items can be made at this time. Anything? Okay, upcoming meetings. No meeting in April, but we'll make up for that in May and have 2. I guess.
Or just a 4-hour meeting in May if you'd like.
Aren't you funny?
Any board comments? Requests for information?
You first. All right, I just wanted to say to you and your staff, I mean, the things that we're seeing, this website and all the connectivity that goes along with it is like really impressive. And the work that you guys have been doing, I mean, I'm proud to be on this board and to be a part of what you guys have accomplished. So Dave, kudos to you and your team.
That's all. I give these guys full credit. I just tell them what I would like to see, and then they make it happen 10 minutes later, which is great. So thank you, Mike.
Yeah, I share those same comments, and I shared the visitor's guide with the board. I sent it to each board member, and at our last board meeting, I mentioned it again to the general public, and I got great feedback. And I think the thing to me that's so dramatic about this are the photos are so visually appealing versus the stuff we had before. It really knocks the website out of the park. Those videos and those pictures, I look at that and I think, dang, that's a city I live in. And it's impressive. So I want to let you know I shared that. 2, since we're not meeting in April, I want to let you know the city is doing a grand reopening on April 25th at 10 a.m. of the rifle and pistol range. So the city has invested close to $900,000 between grant money and general fund dollars in getting that range brought up to the level recommended by the 2 consultants that we hired for range safety. So we will be in full compliance with the recommendations, and that's a resource that the city has that we can promote, I think, actively for programs and events that can put heads in beds.
What was the date and time? I'm sorry.
April 25th, 10 a.m. Bring your pistol and rifle.
Is Jen going to send something out about that, do you think?
I would guess
Okay.
that she is.
Okay,
There's already been a story in the paper about it, but it should be an event that we put on the events calendar.
Yeah, I was just thinking, because I didn't know about it, yeah.
Yeah, so.
Okay. Okay, I'll talk to Jen about that.
We're excited. We just did lead reclamation there, so we had a contractor go in and remove literally thousands of pounds of lead from the ground. And now they're shoring up the berms and putting in stuff so that bullets aren't going to fly errantly into the, while you're at the landfill. Yeah, used to be called a dump, Dave. It's a landfill now. It's okay. That's it for me. Thank you.
I wanted to dovetail off of that, and just to James, I think Dave knows how important this was to me, and I would assume to Mike too, with a property to go to shows and actually put the city out there to these motor coach groups and travel groups that I think haven't done as a city in a long time. That's huge and a great way to bring people here, so I really appreciate that.
Yeah, and James didn't touch on this, which is great, which is okay, we're talking about in May, but we're looking at adding ABA, American Bus Association. That'll be a part of our grant request due in April. And then, James, I cannot remember the one that we're looking at with the sports tournament operators, Connect, as well. So I don't know if you want to speak to that a little bit today, or we'll wait till May, but we're looking at some different things, different opportunities, trade show wise, one-on-one appointments to get at different types of operators as well. So we know this Connect one may be huge from a tournament perspective. So, yep, we're still hammered down on that, so.
Can I ask where we are on the reach out to the hotels on the 1%.
Yeah, so the plan is to have the meetings next week. I should have added that on my executive director report, apologize. We'll have the meetings next week, and then the plan is for Mike and I to go out to meet with the individual ownership or GM groups at each of those hotels. Pending those meetings, then we'll get a survey out the door and assess where the hotel ownership groups are at relative to the 1% in the arts and culture. So I think we'll have the survey out before the end of April is the plan, and then we'll kind of follow the same procedure we do with our event surveys. We'll get an initial one out, we'll do a secondary and a sort of a tertiary push. So that's probably going to be last week of April, first week of May, second week of May. My hope is to have then that information back in front of you all for the June meeting, timing-wise, because we won't make it for the May meeting the way it's looking right now. Because we really, Mike and I would like to meet with every one of either the owners or the general manager, who is ever was able to speak on behalf of the property is our plan of attack. So, but we're going to let the meetings take place next week
And
first.
generally, some of those chain hotels, I don't know anymore because I know some of them changed hands recently in terms of ownership groups. Are they, and you guys know the ones I'm talking about, are they local ownership? Are they distant owners? They're all distant ownership then.
I would assume they're all management groups.
Right.
Based out of somewhere else.
Okay.
Is how all those select service generally work.
Okay. I mean, the Holiday Inn used to be owned by a local individual and who was on this board for a number of years, but that's changed over and,
Management ownership.
yeah,
group, not
okay.
local at all now.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, and actually I just was communicating with the acting, as I just found out this morning, the acting general manager, and he's coming
At
in next
the
week.
Holiday Inn
At
or?
the Holiday Inn, yeah,
Okay.
he's coming in from Orlando or somewhere. He'll be here next week, so we'll get a chance to talk to him about then plans moving forward. And yeah, even if, we have to get on a phone call, I guess, or we do a Skype or a WebEx, we'll do whatever it takes to get the feedback
Yeah.
from these
The
folks.
mission is to
Thank you.
get as much information as we can.
Yeah,
and
no, I
have-
get it.
And be able to make a decision on this by, fall
Yeah. Yeah, well, hopefully,
before.
yeah, because if the board of supervisors needs to take action and or we want to, I'm just thinking of our timing in terms of the budget year because the agreement ends in May of 2021.
June,
Correct.
Or is
Yeah,
it
May
May
31, yeah.
31st?
Yeah, May
31st.
31st it terminates
Yeah.
of 2021. So, I was really hoping to have it by May so that if the board needed to budget something, we'll still be okay actually because it'll just be part of a fiscal year. A month of a fiscal year is all we'll have to cover it for if we decide to fund it ourselves as a board if the CTA decides not to. So, yeah, we can make it work. Thanks.
anything else? At this time, I'll ask for public comments. Any public comment? Seeing none. I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We're adjourned.